Ladies and gentlemen, if you are looking to have more customers pay you more money more often, then Employee Escape Plan is your next step. Okay. And I've worked with Joe Nicasio of Employee Escape Plan, and he's helped me in my systems, in my own marketing and coaching efforts, and really helping me to succeed. So if you are extremely satisfied with your level of growth, you're satisfied with your business, you're satisfied with all the impact that you're making, then it's probably not for you. But if you want to take it to the next level and really deepen your impact in people's lives and reach more people, have better systems, better marketing, better automation, Joe Nicasio of EmployeeEscapePlan.com is your man. Again, EmployeeEscapePlan.com. Diane Lang, therapist, educator, and life coach. As a therapist, educator, and positive living expert, Diane has dedicated her career to helping people turn their lives around and is now on a mission to help them develop a sustainable, positive attitude that can actually turn one into an optimist, literally. Through her 3 books, Creating Balance and Finding Happiness, Baby Steps, The Path from Motherhood to Career, and Mindfully Happy, Waking Up to Life, Diane has been speaking and empowering people nationwide. She is also an adjunct in psychology at Montclair State University, where her college work includes mentoring students for personal issue advisement. Diane, are you ready to rock this?
I am ready.
She is ready. Awesome.
I'm ready.
Awesome. You are now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self, and thank you for taking your time out of your schedule to share with our audience all your wisdom and lessons that you've gained in this lifetime for us and with us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. So we're going to dive right in today, and what we usually start with is the theme of the day. So today's theme is a new day, a new reality. And what I had in mind when I created this theme is every day is a new opportunity to start over. Every day is a new opportunity to create ourselves newly, to step into a new reality. So I'm curious, how does that show up for you, Diane? How does that show up for you in your life or with your clients or just living? Give us your perspective on that.
It's funny you brought that up because I send out my newsletter on Mondays. And you know how many people hate Monday? Mondays suck. You see it all over Facebook and social media. And for me, I actually look at Monday as a whole new possibility. It's a whole new week in front of you that you can do whatever you want, whatever you choose to do with it. So I kind of think of every day as that new day. And I look at it when I wake up and say, after my gratitude and, my meditation and all of that, I go, what am I going to do with today? Because it's really all up to us. So even if you have a bad day, today's Wednesday, the 24th, even if today is the worst day you ever had, you could even keep it that way. You could say, you know what, this is going to be my bad day. I'm going to give it, all day until midnight. Tomorrow is a fresh new start. And you want to make sure you realize that every morning, because every morning you do wake up. I hate to sound cliche, Chris, but it's true. When you wake up, it is a blessing. There's another day here that's unfolding for you. And you have the ability to choose what you do with it and how you react to all the situations that come that day. So whether it's today or tomorrow, again, if you're having a bad day, let it be a bad day. Sit home, listen to Chris all day, and then take that information with you and say, what will I do with it for Thursday, the 25th, and Friday, the 26th, and so on. Because every day is a brand new journey and adventure.
Wow, that's beautiful. I also hear integration, because whatever happens, like, you have the bad day and then integrate the wisdom. What did you learn? What did you really receive from that to be able to make tomorrow epic?
Well, it's really important. When I do positive parenting, I always tell parents to teach kids about mistakes, because mistakes and failures aren't really mistakes and failures. I hate, the word mistake or failure. What it is actually a teachable, learnable moment. And if we don't make those mistakes and failures, we can't get to where we're wanting to go. Sometimes you don't even know where you want to go until you've made that mistake or had that failure. That leads you in the right direction. How many times have you been in, the bad relationship, and if you didn't break up with them, you went to found the true love? Or the same way, you got laid off from your job or fired and you're so upset, but that led to you starting your own business. Yep. So you want to look at every day, every mistake or failure and say, what lesson is here? What can I learn from this? What changes can I make to take with me into my next step? So nothing is wasted at all as long as you use it as a tool for your advancement.
That's beautiful. Also, in that, I hear transmutation. Like whatever we get, like it could be negative energy. It could be like whatever negative circumstances, negative, right? It's all our perspective, all our labeling, and we can turn that into momentum. We can turn it into the next step. So that's awesome. I love that. So before we continue any further, Diane, we want to get to know you a little bit more, and we want to know what you're up to today, what you're creating, and what are you doing in the world?
Well, today I'm actually really just promoting my new book, Chris. It took me years to get this book out. So really, it just came out in October. Awesome. So I'm really working on just getting it out there and teaching workshops that match. As you said in the beginning, my latest book is called Mindfully Happy, Waking Up to Life. And really what it is are tips and tools to cultivate more happiness and mindfulness in your life. And what I wanted the book to be and what I'm trying to teach in my workshops and what we're talking about today are realistic, easy to follow, and sustainable tools. Because what happens is, we go to a lot of workshops or we read a book and it's really motivating and we're really excited. Then after a few days, we're like, well, how do I do that? Or they didn't give me the steps. And I wanted this book to be really simple and easy. It's a little over 100 pages and everything tells you how to do it. And that's what I wanted. And the great thing is it doesn't cost any money. And it doesn't change your schedule, which are the two biggest things, right? Work-life balance. I don't have any more money. My kids have stolen it all, and I don't have any more time. So how can we still cultivate more happiness and mindfulness to live our best lives, both professionally and personally? So that's really where I'm at, because I don't know about you, but for me, it took forever to write my third book. I was ready to lose it. I had such writer's block. Wow. I don't know why, but so finally when, I got it done about a year ago, then you have the whole publishing process and getting it out. I was just excited to get it out there and have workshops that match and get the information to people. So I'm really glad that I'm here to get it out on this show. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is just the beginning. This is a stepping stone to continue. It's the the energetic momentum. I'm grateful that this platform, the 12-hour marathon, and other podcasts and other shows, it's all opportunities to get the message out to the world. And I'm grateful that I can be a conduit and a channel for you to express your message and have people be able to receive it. And I know that it wasn't always so easy for you to share your message. And you mentioned you've written 3 books. That's incredible. Right. And I'm sure that that's taken a journey and some challenges that you've overcome to get to where we are today. So why don't you fill us in on what that journey has been like and some of the really defining moments along it so our audience can connect a little bit more with you?
Sure. So my first book was Baby Steps, The Path from Motherhood to Career. And really it was about, 9-10 years ago when I wrote it. And it was because my daughter was very young and I was actually going through the transition. And I knew I was going to go back to work, but it was, what type? Did I want to work full-time, part-time? Was I going to have, mommy's guilt? So I was really in a different place, even though I've always been a therapist and I was still teaching college at the time, but I was in a different place. After that, I slowly transitioned into positive psychology. As a therapist, I was trained humanistically, and I always use that with my clients. I work with traumatic brain injury and substance abuse, which is, a tough population because they have a lot of memory loss. Yeah. So while I was doing that, I really transferred into positive psychology, which is such a natural progression because humanistic is really the foundation of positive psychology. So it's just a natural transition into it. And it really made such a difference in my own life. I really use everything I teach. And it's so, it just, I can't even begin to say, I wish I was, Martin Seligman and could say I created it, but just being an educator of it and using it with my clients and seeing so many of them transition into such wonderful lives. And, a lot of them are brain injured and spinal injury, so they're paralyzed from their chest or waist down. And to see them thrive, not just survive, but really thrive and push forward and do such amazing things, I realized, oh my God, this stuff really works. And then about 6-7 years ago, I got really sick. One day I was speaking at an event and all of a sudden I couldn't swallow at all. Wow. And I thought I had a stroke like my clients do, because a lot of my clients have swallowing problems from having a stroke. A stroke also puts you under a traumatic brain injury. And it took about 6 months for them to figure out what was wrong with me. But for those 6 months, they told me I had ALS, Lou Gehrig's, and that I was dying. And because I couldn't swallow, I couldn't eat, I lost 28 pounds in 2 months. It was a really bad year for me. And I started using all of the tools that I was actually teaching and using. And even before I found out my true diagnosis, which is an incurable disease, but, not Lou Gehrig's, and I'm going to live, I just have a lot of, limitations, I realized that this stuff really works. I mean, it shifted my whole happiness levels when I didn't have much to be happy about. And from that point on, I just feel so strongly that if it could help me, who, thought I was dying at the time and still has an incurable illness that really transferred my life into a very different place for both the good and the bad, and watched my clients do the same thing, I had to get it out there. I just felt like it was a calling, like I have to share this. And, the great thing about positive psychology is we actually also study spirituality and meditation. And that is so important. So I wanted to give a lot of tools on mindfulness, not meditation per se, because meditation is the daily practice of mindfulness. But what are the other ways I can be mindful? How can I be mindful in my daily life? Because most of us live on autopilot. We just go through the day. We don't even pay attention. I mean, how many times do you drive home from someplace you go to every day, like work, and you don't even remember how you got home?
Yep.
And you're like, wow, did I stop at that red light? Did I pass the ball? You don't even remember it because we're so on autopilot. And I just want to wake up people to know that they can have, a better life, that we have more control over who we are and what we do with our lives than people think. So that's why I'm really out there doing this and trying to make a difference and, helping people get to that place where they feel that happiness, mindfulness, and creating the lives they want.
I love it. I love the idea of awakening, awakening people to their power and right. a new day, a new reality, awakening people to a new reality. So I'm curious, like, what's some of the biggest shifts that you've seen as you awaken these people to their new reality? What stands out to you? What like way of being or life or limited thinking have people been stuck with, and now they have this new perspective because of positive psychology and the work that you do?
I've seen people go from being injured or ill where their identity was shaped by it. They became that, I'm paraplegic, or I have cancer, or, whatever it was that they had. And that became their whole identity. And when that becomes your identity, you really feel depressed. You feel like you have a loss of control, and you lose that motivation to do anything because you just feel like there's no hope. And what happened is when people started using a lot of the tips and going into a lot of the happiness habits and really using it, as well as, healing and feeling their emotions and all of that, it started shifting. And what I was seeing is what we call post-traumatic growth. They were actually being able to use their trauma, whether it was an illness, an injury, a car accident, whatever it was, they were using it to find ways to better their lives. And that was incredible to see. I had clients who were getting their master's degrees. These are people who have brain injury, who are paralyzed, who were told they wouldn't do anything. They're driving.
Wow.
Some of them were told they would never move their fingers. They can hold a cup of coffee and they can drive a car because now, you can have all of your, brake and gas on the wheel. So they can drive, they're getting married. I mean, they're just doing amazing things. They're out there helping others. They're forming groups that help others. Some of them are doing Olympics. I mean, it's just amazing what they can do. And when you see the growth, instead of going the opposite side where you become, depressed from your trauma, to see people grow and just to know that everybody has that opportunity to say, hey, this happened to me. Let me accept what happened. I can't change it, but what do I want to do with it? And I learned that myself when I got sick. I learned that I can let this illness become who I am.
Yeah, define you.
Which is, right, it could definitely define you. Or I can say, how can I use this to change myself? And as much as it was hard at first, it made me change my whole entire lifestyle, my diet, everything. I'm not allowed to eat hardly anything. And I have burns in my throat that they are precancerous. So if I eat the wrong foods or I do something wrong, it could turn into throat cancer, which obviously I don't want. And there's no cure for it. And it affects my speaking because every time you speak, you produce acid that reburns your throat. So it almost took away my whole career. And what I did is realize that I can grow from this and learn. And I changed how I eat. I made sure I meditate. I exercise more. I wrote a book. That's where I got finally out of my book rut. And you realize that there's so many other options out there. And that's called growth. And we need growth to be happy. You know, when people say they feel stuck or stale or stagnant, it means you're not growing. It means you're not taking risks. You're not stepping outside your comfort zone. So you want to look at that and say, how can I grow? So even if you have some kind of trauma or injury or illness, it doesn't mean you're stuck there. It doesn't mean it's who you are. It's part of who you are. Just like if you break a leg or you have blue eyes or you have long hair, it's part of who you are, but it's not everything. It's not your whole identity, and it shouldn't shape every part of who you are. It's how can I grow from this? What can I learn? And how can I share what I've learned with others? Yeah. And then moving it forward.
Wow, I love that. And you gave some really exceptional examples of what people have achieved in spite of what everyone around us would say, yes. Oh, you have every reason to, to go sit in a corner and throw a pity party and, oh, don't worry. I'm like, and they try to like nurture and baby and coddle. And you're just a stand for people to experience the greatness of life, regardless of what has happened. And I love how you said accepting the condition, accepting the part of us, whether it's a broken leg or blue eyes, long hair. It's like accepting that part. I think what I strive to do even more is embrace and love. Right? Like I embrace the fact and love the fact that I don't grow hair, right? It's like, and I embrace it and I love it and I look great with a bald head.
Like that,
yeah. Right? So it's like, that's a part of me that I love, where in the past I used to be so ashamed of it. I'm like, oh, I'm not like everyone else. I don't have like long flowing hair. It's like, no, like who I am is who I am. And it's perfect exactly the way it is. So I love how you said embrace and accept and just choose it, right? It's choosing how things are. And yes, we can wish that they were different, but is that really going to serve us? Is that really going to move us forward? It's like we're given a deck of cards, we're given a hand. How do we play the hand? How do we move forward with that is what really determines our reality.
Well, it's so important to accept, because if you don't accept the situation, no matter what it is, we form resistance. And that resistance is really just stress. Yeah. So the more you resist it, you just form more stress, frustration, anger. You start comparing yourself to others, which is all just setting yourself up for failure. By accepting where you are, it doesn't mean that you're going to just be stuck there. People have this feeling when you say, you have to accept your situation. They feel that means give up or being stuck. And that's really not true. What it means is I'm accepting where I am today so I can make changes for tomorrow. By accepting where I am today, I can release all the stress and the resistance. So then when I do decide to make changes, I can make them with clarity, and they're coming from a place of love, not fear. When we make decisions based on impulsivity, out of desperation or out of fear, they're usually the wrong decisions. So by accepting and taking that time to accept and heal, if you need to heal, if things are really drastically changing and they're traumatizing, you also need to feel to heal. If you don't go through the feeling process, you have to feel it to get through to the other side. So we want you to feel your emotions. And your emotions are filled with two things. Your emotions are filled with physical sensations, right? If you're angry, you're hurt, you're sad, you physically feel it, your face turns red, your chest starts, pounding, you get a headache, whatever your physical sensations are. And the other part is that story that plays in your head. Up here it happens again, I'm such a loser, or oh my God, I have pain, that means I'm dying. Oh my God, the plane just rocked, we're going to crash. We create it through our physical sensations and our story that we tell ourselves, and that creates a whole emotion. Doesn't even mean it's true, but we do create it. So you really want to feel it, go deep, work through it, accept where you are so you can release the resistance of it, and then you can make really good decisions based on love and clarity, which is a whole different ballgame. And that's what acceptance does. So please don't think of acceptance as giving up or quitting or being stuck. It's absolutely not that. But I've had so many clients say that I can't accept, you're telling me to quit, and they're two different things. That's good. It's a great distinction that I'm sure a lot of people misconceive, that accepting means, all right, you got to just deal with it and give up. But that's not what that means. I love that you said that. So let's start diving in a little bit more. And I love what you said there about the emotions, both being kind of a physical aspect and then also a story aspect. So let's dive into a little bit more of those. Like, how do we know when a story's going on? What else should we be paying attention to? How do we shift with the story and also the physical emotions that are physical feelings and sensations? Well, first thing is to become aware of your physical sensations. So, there's something to really think about mindfulness, which is really just checking in with yourself to see how you're feeling. And, a lot of people who do mindfulness will say they check in once a day and they go, what is my body feeling like? Where am I holding stress? So the first place I have my clients start is ask yourself, where do I hold stress on my body? And just, everybody holds it differently. But the most common areas we hold stress, the first one is our jaw. Because, we either grind or clench our teeth, and that can cause TMJ or lockjaw. It can also cause jaw pain. It can cause throat pain, ear pain, and it can cause headaches. Wow. So that might be the first place. For others, they just get headaches and migraines. For a lot of people, it's in their shoulders and their neck because we tense up when we're stressed and anxious and panicking. For others, it's in their stomach. And I know for me, it's in my stomach. When I'm stressed, it goes straight to my gut. And I had a client express it perfectly. She said, when I'm stressed, it goes in my stomach and I feel like someone's in there wringing a washcloth. And that's exactly what it feels like. Yeah. For a lot of people, it just lowers their immune system, as stress and anxiety and anger and all that does. And they catch every flu and cold that comes their way. And for others, it's just their whole body aches. I've had clients say, I feel like this is what fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome would have, but I don't have it. It's just all the stress and anxiety. It feels like every bone in your body just wants to break. So just knowing where you hold stress is really important, because when you know where you hold it on your body, you can use it as like a red flag, a warning sign that, okay, I'm getting a lot of headaches, or my stomach's feeling, like someone's in there tying a knot. Something's going on, because we have the ability to use all those defense mechanisms and block out everything emotionally, but you can't stop your body from feeling it. So even if you mentally push it aside and you live in denial or avoidance, or fantasy zone, your body's fully aware. So by being mindful and just paying attention to how you feel and know where you hold it could be your first sign to go, okay, what changes do I have to make? Think of it this way. If you go to a really good doctor, not a pill pusher, if you're constantly in there getting sick a lot, the doctor will actually stop you and say, hey, you've been in here the last few times with stomach problems, you keep getting sick. What's going on in your life? Something traumatic happened? Are there any changes, transitions? Are you feeling sad? They'll ask you those questions because there's such the emotional, physical connection. If you're emotionally feeling bad, you physically get sick. If you're physically in a bad spot, it affects you emotionally. You have to know they connect. So great place to start is, where do I hold stress, anger, anxiety on my body? And then start paying attention to it. And when you feel it, then you can ask yourself, okay, what's going on? What change do I need to make? What do I need to do? But it's a great place to start, especially if you're really good at avoidance and denial. It's a great place to start.
Wow, that's awesome. So really just checking in. Where do we feel it in our body? And that's one of the biggest parts of mindfulness, is just having the space, creating space in our life, slowing things down. Because so many people are just rush, go, and they don't take the time to pay attention. What is my body telling me? Where do I feel the soreness, the stiffness, the tension? And that's such a key to living a great life. If you want to be your greatest possible self, first thing you have to do is be aware of, what do you feel now? What is life like now? And you have a clear objective of where you want to go. What is this amazing vision of a life that we want to live? And where are we now? What do we need to shift? What do we need to change? So I love that. And then as far as the stories, how do we start shifting those stories?
Well, a few things to think about. A lot of us have these belief systems, as you said in the beginning of the show. And the first thing to remember is your belief systems are based on your thoughts. How we get a belief is you heard a thought over and over and over again, and it became a belief. The first thing to remember is it doesn't mean it's true. Just because you heard something over and over again doesn't make it a true belief or a true thought. If you came from a childhood of abuse and you constantly heard, you're no good, you're not worthy, you're stupid, you're ugly, whatever it is, after hearing it for a few months, it actually becomes your belief system. Yeah. It doesn't mean it's true. I still remember I had a client who was a lawyer, and she was a partner in the practice. She graduated from Harvard Law, and she kept saying, I feel so stupid. And I haven't met many Harvard lawyers who would ever say they felt stupid. Right. But the truth is, it wasn't about her education or her career. She didn't feel stupid there. She felt very stupid in relationships. She's always had emotionally abusive relationships. And she had that with her father, and it just stemmed across. So the belief system was still there from her childhood. It doesn't mean it's true. So when you look at your belief systems, and what I have my clients do is I have them write down all their aspects of their lives, like their health, their career, their family, their relationships, their socialization, their finances, all of those different areas, whatever it is you have, and then write what's your belief system of it. Because when you look at what the belief system is, you can actually see why you're not succeeding in that area. You know, if someone has that belief that they're no good in relationships and you wonder why you're divorced twice, you can see it. You know, like for me, I'm getting older, not happy about that. I know we should embrace it, but not a big fan of going gray and getting wrinkles. But why I was unhappy about it is I started diving into what is my belief system on aging. And I had this really bad belief system because back in the day, you know, once you hit a certain age, especially for women, you were like invisible. And I was still holding on to a belief system that's no longer even out there. I mean, you have Jennifer Aniston and all of them are in their late 40s and they look fabulous. But we have this belief system that it's still back in the 60s and 70s where, you know, once you hit 40, life was over and you didn't look it anymore and you had to cut your hair short. And, you know, we had this big belief system. And now that that's not there anymore, I just had to get to that place to agree with it. Still not a fan of gray hair and wrinkles, but I don't mind the whole aging outside of it. I just had to change how I thought about it and what I believed about it. So it's really looking at your age, or I'm saying it's my age, but looking at the different areas of your life and saying, what is my thought process on that? What do I really believe? You know, like when you look at that, and I have my clients write it down, sometimes they'll write something down and go, oh my God, I can't believe I was believing that. Because whatever you believe, so let's say stick with the belief that you thought you were stupid from childhood. And if that's the case, that'll affect every decision you make in your life. Maybe you didn't go to college or go for your higher degree because of it. It really shapes it. You didn't start your own business because you thought you were stupid. You will make every action and decision based on a belief system that's not even true. So when you look at your beliefs after you write them down, then ask yourself these questions. Is that belief even true? Is that belief coming from a reliable source? A lot of us have had bad childhoods. You know, dysfunction is the new function. So let's say you came from a dysfunctional childhood. You know, you can't really value the source because they weren't happy. If your parents were abused or they weren't happy, they're just showing you what they've learned. It's just a reflection of them, not you. Is the belief outdated? Is it not even true anymore? Maybe it was true 20 years ago when you were bad at relationships, but now you've been married, for 20 years and you're still holding on to that. So you really want to really dive in and go, what is that belief system? Is it true? Is it from a reliable source? Is it outdated? Is it even realistic? And then decide, do I want to keep this belief? Is this belief working for me? Is it moving me in a positive direction? If it's not, then you don't have to. You have to remember this. This is the big picture of it. When we look at our personality, right? 100% of your personality, 50% of your personality is genetic. It's what you're born with. Okay, it's your DNA. Great. 10% of your personality is circumstances. And those are things that are outside of your control, but really shape and impact who you are, like my illness, let's say, or the economy or war, things we don't have control over, but they definitely impact who you are today. But 40%, that big number, 40% of who you are is environmental. It's learned. So you have 40% control of what you take in and what you believe. So you can break a habit, form a habit, change a habit. And you can do that with belief systems because they're just thoughts you heard over and over again. The first place to start is, what are they? And do I want them anymore? Are they even true? And that's where you start. So you got to know, what's my belief system? Do I want them? And are they working for me? And if they are, great, keep them. If they're not, then you can work on removing them. And you have that 40% control. When I first started counseling a little less than 20 years ago, I used to have clients come in and go, I can't change. I'm a victim of my DNA. This is it. It doesn't get better than this. And we actually used to believe it a little bit. Now we know, not so much. You have that 40% control of who you are and what you do with it. So remember that, because that gives people hope, knowing that, and a lot of people don't realize that, you got 40% control. And just remember this, because this is a big thing. to change a habit, break a habit, or form a habit, when you read a magazine, they give you like that 21 days, 28 days. It really takes about 2.5 to 3 months. So we don't want that instant gratification, like what happens with New Year's resolutions, and that's why the gym's crowded for 2 or 3 weeks, and then it's not crowded anymore. It takes longer than that. So you know what? In the first month, yes, you'll reap the benefits. So if you're on a diet, in a month you might have more energy, you're feeling better, you lost some weight, but it won't become a lifestyle choice where you can just do it on autopilot until about 2.5, 3 months. So give yourself that chance to really make the change. Don't give up and have some patience, but see what beliefs do I hold on to that just don't work or don't serve me anymore.
Wow, this is so powerful. I love all of this. It's really evaluating the belief. Is it serving us? Being aware. So you mentioned to look at each area of our life and just write down. It sounds like the first thoughts that come to mind. What do I believe about this? And then just like the unconscious, the subconscious will populate that. So whatever comes out, that's your belief. Now I'm curious. For me, for example, I have a couple of things that I specifically want to ask you about. I've done a lot of personal development work, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in the audience who are listening that have done a lot of personal development work. And we know to create our reality, we have to be responsible for what we create, like what we put down on paper, for example. So if I knew that I'm committed to having a belief of, for example, that I'm, great in relationships, but evidence in the past didn't exactly show that pattern. If I knew that I'm committed to having great relationships, and when I ask myself and do this exercise of writing down what do I believe about relationships, I could go from the past in kind of the track record and probably what I might be still holding on to a little bit, or do I focus on what I'm committed to creating moving forward because that's who I say I am, even though it might not necessarily feel right or be in integrity yet? What's your perspective on that?
Sure. And there's a few different perspectives. There's the fake it till you make it. If I just keep saying it, I'll believe it. But for some people, if you've had such a bad past on, relationships, let's just keep it on that example, you're probably not going to believe it. And it's going to take a while to believe it. Because remember, it took you months to believe you were stupid. So it's going to take you months to go back to start and go, hey, I'm really not so stupid. I'm actually kind of smart. It'll take a while. But you also want to look at where you're going. Is it realistic? To say that I've just come through 3 divorces and I'm great at relationships is going to sound really just like, bullshit, excuse my language, but we're not going to believe it. Sorry, I'm from New York.
It's perfect.
But the real truth is asking yourself, where do I want to go and is it realistic? So most clients wouldn't say I'm great. They'll start saying, but I can be okay at relationships. I can learn and grow. That's realistic. You want to take your baby steps. The other part is talking about your past is you want to look at why you weren't good in relationships. What was holding you back? Was it the belief system? So now you're working on changing the belief. Is it fear because you've come from an abusive relationship and you're scared to move forward? Is it that you just keep repeating the same patterns over and over again because of the belief system? So it is important to know why. Because if you don't know why, you're going to keep repeating the same bad choices over and over because you're not sure what to change or why you're doing it. So, it's really important. And now you can tell my counseling background. Yes, I think it's important to know why you're doing those things. You don't have to, sit there for 10 years and discuss it over and over again and analyze it to, death. But you do have to know why. And then you have to know where do I want to be and is that a realistic view? So to go from really bad relationships to great, that's probably not going to happen overnight. To go from really bad to being self-aware of why and to going, I can start with some really good dates. That's a great place to go. You want to be realistic. Otherwise, in your head, you're going to go, this is just not working. Because you're setting yourself up for something that's not realistic or even possible at that moment because you might not be there emotionally as well. You have to heal from those past relationships before you jump into a new one and go, I can do better than I did before. And that's the goal, not to have great relationships, but to do better than you did in your last relationship. And if you do that, then you're really moving in the right direction. I always think of it as taking baby steps. You can't go from 1 to 100. It's, like on a happiness scale. If I say to a client on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least happiest, 10 being the happiest, where are you? And if someone says, I'm about a 3 or a 4, I don't say, well, how do you want to get to a 10? I go, How do you want to get to a 5? I want them to move up slowly, or a 5.5. And that doesn't seem too overwhelming or scary. If I say go to a 3 to a 10, they're overwhelmed. It's unrealistic, and they're going to run the other direction. They're going to procrastinate. If I say, how do you go from a 3 or 4 to a 5, they're going to go, that's kind of doable. I can do that. And that's where you want. And then from a 5, you go, you want to try a 5.5? And they usually go, yeah, I can do that. Because you're taking the baby steps, and then they're starting to see the motivation, because they're starting to see the positive reinforcement. Or even better, let's say they fail, but they survived it. And they go, wow, you know what? I tried. It didn't get the results I wanted, but you know what? I'm okay. There goes the resiliency I just built. And they'll still try until they hit the 5 because they know they can. And having, a therapist or a best friend or spiritual counselor, having that support will help, do it. Big point to remember is you can't heal, you can't forgive, you can't grieve on your own. We all need support. So having the support will also help with the momentum of pushing you forward. But be realistic and take baby steps, and you'll start noticing the small changes. And, when you look 2 years later, you'll realize that was one big change, but you took 10 steps to get there. And that's okay. It's a journey. We're not in a rush. People want instant gratification, especially from Google. I can just get any answer. But the truth is, life just doesn't work like that. We have to learn it. We have to know why, and we have to know where we're going to get there. So really just be patient and kind with yourself. A little self-compassion and self-kindness goes a long way in the healing world.
How do we actually actively be compassionate and be kind? How do we actively do that on a daily or moment-by-moment basis? Is there any practices or ways that you remind yourself of doing that?
Absolutely. So one of the big happiness habits for positive psychology, which starts retraining your brain a little, because that's what we're doing. We're retraining your brain to start noticing the positive instead of the negative, right? That's what we want to shift it. It's a shift. So one of the best tools we have is there's 2, gratitude. And then the other one is asking yourself, what did I do well today? So what I have my clients do, and you can do it however you want. I'm just giving you an example of it, is at night, for the first 3 months, because it takes 2.5, 3 months to form that habit, I have them email me their gratitude, and I'll go over what it looks like, and what did they do well today. Wow. Now, a few things about it. Gratitude is a great tool to retrain your brain because it allows you to see what's in front of you that you don't pay much attention to. And it's those little things. It's not you won lotto. I mean, be grateful if you won lotto, but it's those little things. It's running into a friend. It's be grateful for that great cup of coffee. It's saying no instead of putting yourself in, a stressful situation. It's the really little things that we don't focus on because we're so busy. So, and we all have what's called a negative bias, or, I call it the negative default button. We tend to go towards the negative. It's more comfortable. It's what society gives us. We're a society based on negativity and fear. But instead, with gratitude, you start seeing the little things and shifting how you look at things, which is really big. So I have my clients every day ask themselves what are 2 to 3 things they are grateful for. I call it a gratitude check. Now, why I do it for that day is really important too, because if you have clients just go, what are you grateful for? They say the same things over and over. Oh, I'm grateful for my health, the roof over my head, my husband, my wife, my kids, same stuff. And not that that's bad, except what it does is if you do that frequently, it turns into what we call a gratitude rut. It doesn't have any value or meaning. So by saying, what am I grateful for today? And looking through my day and pointing out the things I'm grateful for, that really gives you a chance to see what's going on in your day and find those little things. Now, I always say do 2 to 3 things, but if you only have 1 for the day, we can all find 1.
Yes.
And that's fine. There's some days I can only get 1 or 2, and there's some days I have like 20. Every day is completely different. So I have them do it, the gratitude. You can write it like in a journal. You can say it out loud, or you can say it in your head. It doesn't matter, however you want to do it. Alongside of that, I have them say to themselves, or write it down, what are 2 to 3 things I did well today? Now, this is really important because at night, when you're about to go to sleep, you shut the lights off, you shut the TV off, you're sitting in the dark in silence. You're no longer in that avoidance anymore, and that negative loop comes up, right? That download of I should have done this, I could have done that, why did I say that, I'm such an idiot, whatever that loop is, everybody's is different. And we just sit on that negative default button of whatever bad has happened. Even if we've had a great day, 99.9% of the day was awesome, we concentrate on that little percent that was not good. So we're going to switch that. So by looking through your day and saying, what did I do well? And that's different than gratitude, because gratitude could just be, it was sunny out. I didn't have any control over that. I would like to think I am Mother Nature, but I don't. But what I did well is that I said no, or I finished my report that I was procrastinating, whatever it is. So you put the effort in. Now, by doing both of those, you start retraining your brain on what you look at, your perspective, as you said, what you choose to see. And again, it takes about a good 3 months to really start feeling the big effects. But the mix of the two make a huge difference on what you see about yourself. And that will add in more kindness and compassion, because you'll be sitting in bed going, wow, you know what? I did do my hair well today. Sorry, but just using it as an example. You know, or I said no and I took an apple instead of the Hershey bar. Wow, that was pretty good. I am a little stronger than I think. And it starts boosting your self-esteem and starts noticing what you do well, which is that sense of self and self-awareness. And we start raising that up a little bit. So every day, if you can do both of those exercises, and this is good. They don't change your schedule. If you do them at night, both, it will take you less than 4 to 5 minutes to do both, and it doesn't cost you a dime. So there is no excuse for anybody. I mean, if you want to do it in your car, do it in your car if you don't have the time at night, whatever it is. But why it's also important at night is whatever you're thinking about 15, 20 minutes before you go to bed, which is why we say don't watch the news at night, because, you know, that can really phase people.
Totally.
Whatever you're thinking about before you go to bed will affect how you sleep, if you sleep, and what mood you wake up in the morning. So if you go to bed doing gratitude and what did I do well today, you're putting yourself in a really good mood, which will affect how you dream, and that'll help you wake up in a better mood. And that's another important tool for us, because if we go to bed cranky in a bad mood, that's how we wake up. If I go to bed with good thoughts and I have good dreams, I'm going to wake up with a smile. So you really, and also that means I probably did sleep. That's the other thing. When stressed and anxious, we can have insomnia or deprivation, which could obviously make us in a bad mood. Totally. So the other thing too is gratitude is a form of meditation. So by doing gratitude at night, you get all the benefits of mindfulness, which is, you know, reducing stress, reducing chronic pain, lowering your blood pressure, and helping you sleep, just to name a few. So there's so many benefits, and it's, to me, gratitude is very spiritual. So even if I have a client who's not religious or doesn't believe in any type of religion, they still don't mind doing gratitude. You know, unlike prayer, some people might say, I don't believe in God, or, you know, I'm not religious. But gratitude is a different approach, and it's very spiritual. And gratitude helps you form more kindness and compassion, not to just to yourself, but to the world. So you really start making a lot of shifts by doing both of those exercises.
Wow, so powerful. And the fundamental, like the easiness, it's simple, and it can even be easy once we build the habit. You know, 45 minutes, just and I think it's also shifting the identity, right? We're shifting the identity of who do we know ourselves as. If we are important enough to do the gratitude, to do the what did I do well today, so that we can have a higher self-esteem, then we'll do that stuff. But if we don't see that we're important enough, if we're like, you know, it's not that big of a deal, I'll just get by, then obviously you're not going to take those actions. And it's so important that we know that we're worthy enough. For everyone listening or watching, you are worthy for these exercises, and you deserve them. And it will make such a difference for you over that long term. Like you said, Diane, like it might not happen overnight, but after you continually do this, even when you're saying, you know, like my hair and, you know, like you notice your hair looks good, it's like I was noticing and thinking to myself, sometimes I don't pay attention to the things that are working well. Sometimes I'm like my own harshest critic. Absolutely. And I just like rail into myself and like, why didn't you do this? And it's like,
yes, we all do.
So hard.
We are our own worst enemies.
Yes. So it's like everyone listening, you know, really give yourself the compassion to do these exercises, and they're so simple. And if you haven't been doing anything, or if you're doing other activities, ask yourself, are they working? Is this working? Is it moving you towards where you want to go? Because I think usually the simpler, the better. And these are super simple, and they'll make a massive difference.
They're so easy, and really, every time I do a positive psychology workshop for for CEUs, so for social workers, psychologists, counselors, they all will say the same thing. It's common sense. It is, but we just don't do it. We're so busy in our days, and we put everybody else as, a priority except for ourselves. So by doing this, we're actually giving us self-care, which is another tool. Not only do we need it, but it also, again, starts raising your self-esteem because you're spending time on you. And it doesn't feel like it's affecting the family because you could do it in the shower, you could do it driving in the car, you could do it in bed. So it's not like you're taking away from your kids or your job. You're just taking care of yourself in little small boosts, of time. So really, I think it's so beneficial that everybody just takes these on and just adds them into their day. I can't I can't encourage it enough. I'm like, please just gratitude and what did I do well, and you'll start seeing some changes in a few months.
And not to overcomplicate things, and the more often we train ourselves, the better. So we could have, a reminder that goes off in our phone, twice a day or something like that, either at the morning or the night or the middle of the day, the afternoon, that says, hey, what are you grateful for? What are you doing well? What have you done well already today? I know for me, I could start off the day in such a great mindset, such a great mood. And by the middle of the day or early afternoon, it's like completely things have turned around.
Right.
Like, what happened? I set up my day so powerfully.
But, change is a constant, so there's nothing we could do. But here's a tip for that. Yeah. If your day starts off good or you're just having a bad day, just so you know, if you take like a few minutes, let's say you're driving, you just pull over, you sit in your car, and you just remember a really great time in life. It could be 20 years ago. It doesn't even matter. It could be a party, a wedding, Christmas, whatever it is. You just sit there with your eyes closed and really remember that moment. And your brain goes back there. Your brain can't tell the difference if it's happening today or 20 years ago. And by doing that, you get happier. So it's a really quick way to do it. I mean, you can look through pictures, whatever it is that really brings you back to that moment, and you'll see a change happen. Music does it as well, too. As long as you listen to a happy song, you can't put on a sad song and wonder why it's not working. But if you want music as a way, but the other way is to just really sit and remember a really great time and it starts shifting, or even easier, just smile. Smile produces endorphins, and endorphins is a happy chemical. What happens is every time we smile, it's contagious. You can't stop someone. Like if I smile at you, you're going to just smile, even if you're having the worst day, right? It'd be the crappiest day, someone smiles at you, a stranger, and it makes you smile, and it just produces endorphins. So does hugging, spooning, cuddling, laughing, kissing, all of that. So, and it's all free. You could just get a hug and start feeling it, but whatever works for you. A smile is that simple. We actually use it as a random acts of kindness for positive psychology. We have people just smile at 10 people a day, and it starts shifting their mood as well as shifting others. So there's so many different things you can do, but you brought it up, so I just figured I'd add that in as another tool for people. So keep smiling all day. Just smile all day.
Smile all day long.
Even if you don't want to. Right. Even if you don't want to, just smile.
It was interesting because I used to be super self-conscious, and I'm still pretty self-conscious around dancing, right? I'm breaking through, being fully expressed in dancing at the gym, stuff like that.
Oh, I am too. I get you on that.
And I noticed when I'm like looking down, like looking at my, feet and my movement, my arms, like what's happening, I notice that I'm more self-conscious. Yet when I'm looking up and out and I'm smiling, like I'm just having more fun. But I'm still training myself to be confident, to smile and keep that smile on the whole time dancing. It like wants to go away, wants to like retract, it wants to hide. It's like, no, keep smiling, dang.
Just laugh at yourself. We can all do that while we're dancing.
Exactly.
But it works.
It does.
Smiling works. So, I mean, it is the simplest thing to cultivate more happiness, believe it or not. It's just such a simple act. You just got to remember to do it. And like you said, after a few months, it will become second nature. Yeah. I do gratitude automatically. And I remember somewhere around the 3-month mark, I was sitting in New York traffic. And if you're from this area, well, you're from California, I'm sure LA has just as bad, if not worse. And I'm sitting in traffic and I'm trying to get to work to teach college. And I had that 20 to 30 second road rage, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then gratitude just kicked in on its own. And it went, wow, you know what? I'm not in the car accident up ahead. The reason for this traffic, I'm safe. I'm in my car. I have my cell phone. I got my coffee. It's really not that bad. And it just shifted on its own. And that's when I went, wow, this shit really works. It just shifted without me doing anything. And within like 30 seconds, when usually I would have road rage for, 5-10 minutes, I'd be like, oh, just shifted and I was fine. Wow. It was amazing. And I was like, oh my God, this is so easy. Why haven't I done this my whole life? But it does work, so definitely go for it.
I love it. So we're beginning to wrap up now, Diane. I told you this hour would fly by.
You only have, like 10 more hours to go?
Right? That's it. Come on. It's easy. So what's the final takeaways, any last minute kind of points and things you want our audience to receive from this interview, to awaken to a new life?
What I just want people to know is happiness is a choice. Mm-hmm. You could always be happier than where you are. So going back to that scale of happiness, even if you find yourself a 1 on that scale or a negative number, you can be happier. You have that 40% control, and there are so many ways to get to it. And that's the other thing to remember. Happiness is an individual, personal thing. Everybody defines it differently. So look for your own definition. Mm-hmm. Look for what truly makes you happy, because if you look at other people, you're not going to receive what you're looking for. Happiness is personal, it's individual, but we all have things that make us happy. Go out and find them, become more mindful, and listen to Chris for the next, I don't know how many more hours you got left.
9 more, baby, 9 more.
So thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. How do people stay connected with you? What do you want them to do next, Diane?
Sure. So if you go to my website at DL Counseling, you can sign up for my free newsletter that comes out on those miserable Mondays. Cool. And all it is really tips on living your best life. I just give out tips. That would be the best way. And if you subscribe right now to my newsletter, I'm giving out a free ebook on some tips on cultivating happiness. So hopefully if you want to just sign up, you can get the newsletter and a free ebook. And if you have any questions, my email's on there. Feel free to email me, or it's dlcounseling2014@gmail.com.
Awesome. Everyone, you heard it. Diane Lang said go to her website, and I'm recommending you to go to her website too, dlcounseling.com, and go get that free ebook and subscribe and really receive that value, because, Diane, you're amazing, and it's these simple, fundamental truths that we look past, and you're clearly demonstrating them, you're clearly living them, and making a difference in your clients' lives. And thank you for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom, your experience with our audience today. You rock. And keep up the great work.
Thank you so much, and you rock. Good luck with the rest of your day, and thank you for all your work.
Thank you, Diane. We'll see you soon.